WCTC.
Speak up and be heard on Jersey issues that matter most to you. Call Jersey Central with Bert Barron now at 732-545-9282 or toll free at 888-545-9282. Your state, your home, your voice. Jersey Central with Bert Barron on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC.
7:08. Welcome to hour number 2 of Jersey Central on a Tell a Friend Tuesday morning on the new Talk Radio WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. It is Bert Barron. Great to have you here. Contest coming up a little bit later on this morning. Next chance to win some tickets to see a show at the Morris Museum at the beautiful Bickford Theater. My mother, my sister, and me. And your chance to win the tickets to the Friday night, this coming Friday night, 8 p.m. performance is coming up a little bit later on in the show today. Let's get right to the Raritan Bay Medical Center Jersey Newsmaker Hotline. Welcome in our guest who is with us here today. She's the Alzheimer's Association Vice President of Constituent Services, here to talk about some key findings of a recent study that had to deal with caregivers of people who are unfortunately afflicted with Alzheimer's. So we have Beth Kallmyer, who is with us here this morning in WCTC. Hi, Beth. It's Bert Barron. Good morning. How you doing today?
Hey, Bert. I'm good. It's good to be here.
Good to talk to you. This facts and figures report, very eye-opening stuff when it came to what nearly half of caregivers are spending of their own personal savings or the expenses that they're cutting back on just to be able to make sure that the person with Alzheimer's who they are taking care of has everything they need. This is unbelievable, the sacrifices that people are making.
That's right. In our Facts and Figures, the Alzheimer's Association Facts and Figures report, we found that Alzheimer's caregivers were making these enormous sacrifices just to make sure that the people they were caring for were getting good care. Nearly a half of them were cutting back on basic necessities, Bert, things like food, transportation, medical care. 1 out of 5 weren't going to the doctor to take care of their own medical needs because they were trying to make sure the person with dementia was getting the care they needed.
Unbelievable. I mean, obviously, it's such an emotional thing because most of the time, if it's a parent, if it's a loved one who is unfortunately suffering from Alzheimer's that you've got to take care of, that's tough enough right there. And now you throw in this other added expense that comes in with basically reaching into your own pocket to make sure that your loved one that you're caring for has whatever they need. That's like a double whammy, Beth. It really is.
That's exactly right. And one of the other things that our survey found was a third of the individuals had to either stop working or cut back on their hours, and this was resulting in an average loss of $15,000 a year. So people are not having the same amount of money. They're not bringing home the same amount of money, and then they're having to pay money out of pocket to make sure that that person was getting care.
Unbelievable. Some of the other statistics that came out of these findings here. 13% of people who were caring for a caregiver of someone with dementia actually had to go so far as to sell their own personal belongings, such as vehicles or family heirlooms, just to help pay for expenses for those with dementia. And another disturbing statistics, 11% actually had to cut back on their kids' education expenses, indicating that the financial impact of dementia could affect families for generations to come. We can't continue like this, Beth. How much longer can this go on? This is not sustainable.
Well, it isn't sustainable. You know, the cost of care in America right now is $236 billion a year. That's billion with a B. So we're talking about unsustainable amounts of money that we're paying for care. And so, you know, the Alzheimer's Association is really recommending that the federal government invest more money in research so that we can find a way to slow down this disease or even find a cure.
Well, the research is one thing, and that's obviously an important component of this, but how about just being able to help out when it comes to giving the care? Is there any way that there's some funding available for that, or do we see that perhaps coming up in the near future?
Yeah, there's actually a bill in Congress right now called the Hope for Alzheimer's Act, and the point of that bill is to allow Medicare to cover a care planning session so that when somebody got a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, they could then meet with a social worker or a counselor and have a planning session where they could start preparing for what's to come as the disease progresses and having plans in place so that when they're making some of these financial decisions, they can do that with knowledge and foreplanning.
Our guest is Beth Kallmyer this morning here on WCTC, Alzheimer's Association Vice President of Constituent Services, and we're talking about some really unbelievable out-of-pocket expenses and the extent that the caregivers are going to just to be able to care for loved ones who are afflicted with Alzheimer's. Anything you could say about maybe the medication, Medicare and Medicaid? Are they limited, Beth, as far as what they can do and how they can offset these costs?
Well, one of the things that our survey also told us is that there's really a tremendous knowledge gap around how people pay for long-term care. Nearly 2/3 believe that Medicare covers long-term care. That's things like nursing homes or people coming into the home to provide care. And so we need to help people get educated about that so that they can plan for and maximize their options as they're looking at how they're going to make sure that person with Alzheimer's has care.
Yeah, I think a lot of people still have this misconception that Medicare and Medicaid are just these bottomless pits of cash and whatever you need is right there. And that's certainly not the case, right, Beth?
That is absolutely correct. And I think, one of the things that the Alzheimer's Association likes people to know is that if they educate themselves and they plan, then they can have maximize their choices. And so we would recommend that your listeners go to alz.org for more information.
Terrific. I was going to ask you for that website there, but you beat me to it. Thank you so much, Betch. Appreciate your time this morning, and thanks for being on the show, okay?
Thanks for having me, Bert.
All right, thank you. All right, my guest, Beth Kallmyer on the